that chimp in your brain when you're overthinking that's going, nick, 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 nick.
Like a scene made in Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly, like that.
Pippa's becoming an influence.
Know as much as you can about your horses and get into their heads and how they're thinking, but you never truly know.
I usually, at the start of the year, write down a full plan, and then about 3 weeks later, I scrub it all out because it's all gone pear-shaped.
We missed the tea time for this today, actually, as well.
We've got our Talk Horse Entertainment Hub, a live podcast going out from Funnell and Tristan Phipps. It's my absolute pleasure to invite them up to the stage.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We had a really lovely morning this morning with the legend that is Alan Titchmarsh. We have got some very exciting guests this afternoon. But first, I think we should talk a little bit about this amazing show.
So we've had a busy day walking around. I've been showing you around and
We've been everywhere.
We've watched, we have been up to the Royal Box, which was a real treat. We watched the jumping class.
We did. We saw your husband jumping.
And unfortunately, it wasn't too bad.
It was very impressive.
He had a fence, but I was explaining to... Actually, I wasn't explaining to Tristan. I was actually explaining to Jules, because Tristan has his...
My better half.
Better half here. And I was explaining to the non-horsey, the horse curious about distances and how we walk the lines of the show jumping. So you've watched the show jumping. You had a nice... I didn't actually have lunch with you.
No, you rejected
I
my
left
offer of
you
lunch.
to Jules. your pod wife.
My work wife and my girlfriend. Got to tread the line carefully.
And then we've actually just been shopping.
We have. We've been visiting all these exciting... I mean, I have to say, the trade stands here are unbelievable. You know, the equestrian side is fantastic, but you could spend a lot of money here. We're going to have to go shopping afterwards.
And, it's great. It's great for me because, obviously, a lot of the time I'm busy riding at these shows. And over the last couple of weeks... having been at Badminton and then here, it's really great opportunity to get a chance to see some of the trade stands. I hoped I might have gone in and they might have recognised me and I could have got a good deal on a conservatory.
Pippa's becoming an influencer, so we can support the whole thing. I think we should lean into that. But that kind of leads me on to something. Obviously, at Badminton last week we were there together. That was the first year in a long time you haven't actually, ridden. And I think it's sure, a lot of our guests would be interested in hearing, how does it feel to be on this side, for the time being? We're not saying forever, we're saying for the time being.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Obviously, my whole life has been about competing, and for sure at Badminton, it was difficult. And I found, because Tristan came up on the Thursday and you walked the course, and I did feel there was a huge part of me that was sad not to be competing there. And I think one underestimates, and we mentioned it this morning, when you talk about the sort of emotions that are involved with horses, and that's what's special. When you go back to Badminton, I did feel emotional because I've had so many amazing memories there and with so many wonderful, wonderful horses. And
I just say, Pippa's had 33 starts at Badminton, which is... That is a serious achievement. 33 starts at Badminton. Wow.
Yeah, but I haven't had 33 finishes.
That doesn't matter. That's just semantics.
Do you want to introduce them or shall I?
I reckon you take this one, Pippa.
So, two very good-looking young men.
Very handsome chaps.
So I'm going to introduce Jack Whitaker. I was going to say Jack Stockdale. Jack Whitaker and Joe Stockdale. Great charms. Here they are.
A pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, chaps.
No problem at all.
Busy morning for you lads.
I won't give you a kiss.
Not yet.
We did that earlier.
That was behind the scenes. Firstly, thank you so much, lads, for making some time for us today.
No
I know
problem.
you've had
getting to speak into the mic.
Yeah, they start shouting at the back, you'll know. But busy mornings for you guys. Busy few days. Very special show here at the Royal Windsor. How are you feeling being here, and how's the last few days been for you? Firstly.
Yeah, well, I'm very happy to be here at the moment. I've had a couple good days jumping, and we're on good form. So it's always great to be here, and it's great weather. Everything's going good so far. I think happy to be here.
Touch wood on that one.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's fantastic to be here. It's also one in the calendar you always look forward to, and you kind of set yourself on that. It's going to be a big one for us, and like I say, it's nice the weather's come out, and yeah, it's a lovely show here.
The UK has turned up today as well. That's a good point. Before we get into kind of the background and how you guys kind of got into the equestrian world, how do you prepare for these sorts of shows? You've got so many big events in the calendar. There's so much to train for. You've got to be on your game all the time. Do you work one show to the next? Are you kind of looking at key points in the calendar and kind of work towards that? And how does that, from an athlete's mindset, how do you manage that?
No, yeah, definitely. You kind of pick out the shows that you know you're going to get into through a year, and which ones you think like the big, like here is it's a very big one for us. So we kind of have to try and think 6 months before what the plan is, how can keep the horses so fresh and jumping well to peak at the right time. So it's like it'd be like a yearly plan, and then you just go from day to day, really, show to show. Plans change. Horses got their own minds as well, and then their own animals. So it's hard to plan everything down to the last tee, but you try your very hardest, and hopefully when you get here, you're on winning form.
Now, Joe, I know them so well too. Jack's been very humble because you did actually win the big class yesterday. Is that right?
Yep.
And then you've just been fourth in this big class that we've just had. So you're being pretty humble because you've had a
Also,
really
people
good
are humble.
start.
You guys are good.
Sure, it's hard to say. Like when you come to shows, you try and come to win, and when you're there, it's more. I don't know. You feel obviously it's like you feel very very happy when you've won something, but I know it's nearly more like relief. Like you've been doing this for however many years, and everything's leading up to when you get to these big shows, and when you get there, obviously you're so very happy that it's gone well, but it's also more like thank God it's gone well. Otherwise, what the bloody hell am I doing here? Sorry, this is live.
Bloody Zola.
Yeah, like Jack said,
Poor
actually.
fella, Joe's not had a great show, so he's
I know.
I'm battling away here. Jack just seems to touch everything and turns to gold, but I'm battling away. Yeah, I mean, in terms of preparation for the show, we'd sort of pick out, for me certainly, I'd look at my yearly planner and I'd pick out the biggest shows of the year. Those are the ones we want to be peaking for. And then you have the other shows, which are obviously still important, but they kind of fill in between them. And obviously in the run-up, you would look to see which horses are in form, make sure they're fit, ready, they're jumping well, and then you get them lined up to come to a show like this.
So from a layman's perspective, obviously you guys are athletes at the top of your game, but now, as well as being individual athletes, you have the horse to kind of, to factor into that as well. How does that work, kind of managing your mindset and the horse performance and kind of pairing that together and making sure that you both peak at the same time?
Yeah, that's probably the hardest part of the sport, I think, because you try to know as much as you can about your horses and get into their heads and how they're thinking, but you never truly know what they're thinking at any one time. So you have to try and that's what I think when the horsemanship kind of side comes into it and getting to know your horse and everything and all that stuff. But I think it's probably the hardest part, getting there on the day, being in the right place at the right time, with the horse in the right place at the right time and in the right way and everything. There's so many moving factors in show jumping. It's so hard to be so correct every single time, but it's the margins. When I think any top sport, you have to get everything down to the last finer details, and I think that's where the best riders. That's who the best riders are and how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, like Jack said, actually, the longer you've had a horse, the better you know them. You know how they're going to react to certain situations, certain classes, different atmospheres. And so, when you come into a show like this, I know which horses are going to suit the bill, which ones maybe they might not quite take to the atmosphere as well as another one. And yeah, like you say, it's about actually knowing your horse inside and out and spending time with them as well to do that.
And it does help to have someone that knows the horse very well that you can ask their advice to, doesn't it?
Yes.
Joe, one of Joe's up-and-coming young horses is a lovely horse that you met.
I have met Billy Santorini.
At
the London International.
And he was a lovely young horse that I produced, so that's why I'm winding Joe up.
Yeah, he had two down today, but I think...
that was my fault.
That was Pippa's fault.
The previous rider, I'm just trying to change a few bits and sort a few things out. That's probably what it was.
Let's start at the beginning of this journey.
Yeah, I think we should, because Joe, you both came through the Pony Club, didn't you? Did you come through the Pony Club? I know Joe did.
Yeah, I dabbled in the Pony Club, yeah.
But you've both got a family legacy in the equestrian world. You've got Whitaker Stockdale name is famous all over the world. How did you find this world? Is it something that you were kind of born into? Is it something that you knew instantly? It was something you wanted to...
You could definitely say they were both born into this
because I've seen a few Whitakers jumping today.
Yeah, no, I'm obviously very, very lucky to be in the position I was in. I was born into the family and obviously the farm and everything that was there at home, and it was probably inevitable that I was going to sit on a horse at some point. It was just whether if I was going to take it up as a profession or not, and for better or worse, I've taken it up, so
I think it's one thing having a surname, but it's another thing, realising you got the skill and the passion to kind of follow through. So was that something that you knew instantly that you both wanted to pursue? How did you find the love of horses and know that this is what you wanted to kind of...
I mean, for me, it was a little bit different, to be honest with you. I always loved being around the horses. Like same as Jack, I was born straight onto the yard. So I was with them day to day, watching Dad riding a little bit myself. But I'll be honest, it was never something that I thought was going to be a career for me. I'd never planned for it. I always, like I say, enjoyed it. But it wasn't something I ever actually considered as a career. I was big into my cricket.
You had a few options, didn't you? Is it Northamptonshire?
Yeah. Northampton cricket. And that was my main sort of love, I'd say, first. That was what took me. And if there was ever a choice between a show and a cricket match, I'd always end up going playing the cricket match. And so, we have a few turn of events and a few things happened, and basically I ended up pushed a bit more towards the riding side and spending more time on the yard, and we just sort of took off from there, and that's how I ended up, and that was probably 6-7 years ago now.
That's 2019. You kind of made the leap into...
Yeah.
So as you're kind of pursuing these two careers, you're second 11 Northamptonshire cricket, is that correct? And then obviously the Showjumping world. What was the thing that kind of pushed in that direction? Was it kind of backing yourself, knowing that this is the career you want to pursue long term, or? Yeah.
So what happened was essentially I was sort of starting to make a little bit of a break in the side of the Northants side. I'd been through the academy there and worked a long way up through the age groups. And then I was about to go off to Australia and play for a team. I'd just been signed for a team out there. So I was going to do a winter there, come back and come back hopefully for the English summer and play more cricket. And then just before I went, I actually got injured. So I had to cancel my contract out in Australia. So I stayed at home and I couldn't play, I couldn't bowl. So then I started to do a little bit more riding. And then that was the same time, it coincided with the time my dad got very ill. So then obviously he was unable to ride, I was able to ride. I was riding more on the yard, I was riding all the horses then. And then he sadly passed away just a few weeks later, and we were kind of left in that situation where it was either we sell all the horses, sell the yard, completely pack up, and I try and go down the cricket route, or I try and take over the yard and continue doing what I've been doing for those few weeks, which was kind of a mad decision in hindsight, looking back at it now, because I was a terrible rider. I had no idea what I was doing. I think I actually went to Pippa and Will's there, and they put me on a few, I think they were 6 or 7 year olds or something, and it was just, I can't imagine what they were thinking at the time after I just said that I was going to try and ride, because it must have been shocking to watch. But that's the decision I take, and it seems to be, bar this week, it seems to be going all right so far.
Seems to be working out pretty well for you, mate.
I mean, what I would just say, Tim was incredible in what he achieved in his career, and I remember the conversation, your father's last chat with William, because William was a great friend of Tim's, and I remember William very clearly saying, "Don't worry, we'll look after Joe." And one of the first times Joe came down and stayed, I thought, what a lovely lad. So polite, so well brought up, loaded the dishwasher, did everything in the house.
Fully house trained.
Do you know what? The more he's come down, it's like I say, the worm has turned. And I think I'm not sure how much my husband has influenced him, but he was really charming, lovely lad when he first came down. Things are changing. But he's actually, I will just say this, because he's really nice, because he does buy the odd present, the odd bottle of gin, the odd really nice bottle of red wine. And there was one instant when he came back from the pub, got his bottle of red wine out, really nice bottle of red wine, puts it down on my island so hard, having had too much at the pub, and the wine, the bottle shattered, and there was red wine all over my kitchen.
You have some very, very nice pink grout now along your kitchen there, along the tiles, so...
Thought that counts, though, right?
It was a lot of thought,
So, Jack, just in case people don't know, because I had to explain to Tristan...
Everything.
Everything, literally. But obviously, it's such a big dynasty. And just for listeners out there and these guys, Jack is actually the son of Michael Whitaker, because it does get... I mean, I know a lot of you, but it still gets confusing. Cause
I was out there for 10 minutes,
and
and there were 3 Whitakers jumping within 10 minutes.
It's still growing. They're popping out left, right, and centre at the moment. Yeah, there's a lot.
Any of yours? Or?
No, no, definitely not. No, it's still growing. Yeah, there's a lot. There's like 15 of us that jump internationally.
Wow.
And then however many that keep riding at home. It's a lot. It's big.
Your Christmases must be.
Yeah, we don't really do Christmas. We do Boxing Day. Boxing Day is a big party, so that's good fun always.
Amazing.
Also, like, thank God this is half going okay. Otherwise, I would have been screwed. I was doing nothing else. I was no good in school. Can't do anything else. So thank God.
So was this something that you knew you were going to kind of pursue wholeheartedly and kind of lean into from day one?
I mean, like when I was young, probably a little lad, like I was mad for the football, but probably no good. I was mad for all the sports, but it's just.
You still play a bit of football now, don't you?
Yeah. I still play six-a-side every Monday, so that still goes off. But not any good, like. So it's just thank God this is going half okay.
These horsey people are so humble, I have to say. It's hard. Amazing, careers already, and you guys.
It's a very humbling sport.
Well, I believe so. And is that kind of humbling nature? Is that because of the partnership you have with the horse? And from your perspective, how do you keep moving forward week on week? Is it like doing it for the horse? What is it that inspires you to keep pushing on? And
yeah, I think also it's doing it for the horse, but I think. As riders, we all know what everyone else is going through as well in their heads, even if they're not explaining it. Like we know exactly what they're feeling when it's not going well. We know what they're feeling when it is going well. We can appreciate the highs with the lows. So I think that's why we can put each other in each other's shoes a bit, and understand the pain or the happiness when it comes around, and it does swing around in circles.
Because this really is an amazing community, isn't it? And I think Pip's mentioned you've got so many friends from the world, and you guys have obviously got a bit of a dynamic duo here, and a bit of a pair of likely lads. How did you guys come across each other?
Yeah, when did you two become a couple?
We just got lugged
Breaking all the
in.
women's hearts in the room now.
How did that happen?
I've been trying to get a rave from him for years now. But, I'm not actually sure. Do you know?
I don't know. I remember because I've known you for a while. But then we did. How long ago was we did them shows in France?
Yeah. So that would have been probably at least 5 years ago.
We ended up doing like 4 or 5 shows in a row in France, and I think I had more dinner with Joe than he did with his girlfriend at that time. So then it kind of.
And how from a competitive element, how is it competing with and against a friend? How do you manage that kind of relationship?
I think it's one of the weird. If people from outside looked at it, I think it's the weirdest thing because we'll both walk a course. We're both half. Talk to each other and other riders, and everyone's trying to give the right advice. There's nobody there that's saying that's 6 strides and actually it's 5 or whatever. Everyone's trying to help each other, but then we go in the ring, and also there's nothing that will stop me trying to beat him or vice versa. But equally, he'll come out of the ring from a jump off and probably tell me, oh, you can go a bit wider there, or you can come a bit tighter here. So it's so counterintuitive a lot of the time, I think. And it goes back to what you said, is everyone knows how tough it is. So actually, if you ride the best round you can on that horse for where it's at in its career and vice versa, then we're quite happy with how it's gone. So if we come out and help someone else, then that's all we can do. And like we say, you have good shows, you have bad shows, and everybody knows around you. They just having one of those shows. And at the time, you think it's going terribly. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but everybody kind of just says, well, just one of those things.
We talked quite a bit about this at Badminton last week, about the equestrian family, the eventing family, and I think that's what is so special. Like, as you said, you're at the moment having a really great show. Joe, you're not having such a good show. And what you do in the equestrian world, you seem to really share other people's successes. You enjoy their successes, and they support you when you're having the low moments or when things aren't going so right, because you so easily know that it can turn around very quickly. But I think to me it does make it special that you can be so genuinely enthusiastic about other people's wins and what it means to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think you feel as much of a win for me as I would for him, or So actually, this is a nice thing about it. You sort of hopefully you're always winning if your mates are winning.
Yeah, but I was having Joe's show here last year, so it's funny how it always swings back around. Like I was very, very, very low here last year, probably the lowest I've been, and we were all just there. We went out for dinner the night after, and it's all back fine again,
Now, tell me a little bit about. I believe did you have your honeymoon in South Africa recently? Because this is someone who is a big safari man, and I hear you went on safari, the two of you
Yeah, it was
together.
very romantic.
Room for one, or
Well,
Sorry,
that's basically what it was. Yeah, the
We
whole
were
time.
sharing beds a lot of the time.
top and tail?
Yeah.
Like, it was an amazing trip, but I think when we got back, it was more like they were asking if I'd go again. I said yeah, but I think next time I'd take my girlfriend and it's out.
Smart move. Smart move.
Yeah, Jack spooning in the middle of the night is never a nice feeling.
I beg to differ.
I think it's so nice how you got you can balance a friendship like this, but then also kind of, inspire and encourage each other to strive forward in your career. And you guys are, I don't want to say only just starting out, but you've got a lot of jumping ahead of you, and
There's a long way still to go, and hopefully we're going to be on the road for a lot more years. So.
And just out of interest, what to date would be each of your best moments in jumping?
minus sharing a bed in South Africa.
Yeah. Other than South Africa, I was 5th at the World Cup final, like 2 or 3 years ago. So that's probably the best. That's probably my highlight so far.
Yeah, for me, I mean, jumping, being able to jump at the World Championships, and we won team bronze there. That for me was a great experience. And again, even in that week, we're talking about the highs and lows of your career. In that week, I think I had the highest high and the lowest low I've had, in all time. I had a good first day, a terrible second day, and a good last day. But luckily, the last day, the score could count, and it helped us to get the medal. So that felt great for me. But yeah, that's probably my sort of best moment.
As athletes, how do you kind of manage that emotional journey? Pip talks a lot about the sports psychology and that sort of thing. Is that something that you guys are dialing into now? And because it is a massive roller coaster, there's every week it could change. How do you manage that as?
I had a lot of sports psychology when I was playing cricket, actually. And this fella kept talking to me about this chimp in my head. And I know Pip does use this, so I'm not going to slag it off too much. But for me, it did not relate at all.
That's where you're going wrong.
Well,
you need to listen to that chimp.
I think I'm going to listen to the chimp tomorrow. It might help.
I'd say don't listen to the chimp. The chimp in your head now is going mental.
Yeah, he's always up. He didn't know what's happening. I don't use a sports psychologist at the moment. I have spoken to them a few times. It's quite interesting to sort of pick their brains, but it's not something I use regularly. Like I say, it might be something I need for the rest of this week. But yeah.
It's just hard, and I think most of the time you just bury it down, and hopefully it goes well one day, and you totally forget about it. That's kind of the process at the moment, I think.
You see, I'm going to say, because my husband, when sports psychology first came into the sport, I was one of the guinea pigs, right, going back to the 90s when the lottery funding came in. And the sports, we were given a talk by a sports psychologist, and I sort of thought, oh, here we go. This is the sort of thing I think I need help with. And so I offered my service. I said I'll be the guinea pig. And I found it enormously helpful. I did, because it's a known fact, I suffer from nerves. And William always said, well, I always knew you needed to see a shrink. But actually, joking apart, in this day and age now, a lot of people use it in sport. And sorry, guys, but I'm not saying you're wrong not using it, but I think you've also got to be open-minded. You've obviously tried it. But nerves are a funny thing, and I think we all have nerves, and nerves is a good thing, but it's obviously learning how to cope with them. And one of the biggest things, I'm sure people listening that suffer from nerves and things, one of the biggest things is that we overthink things. And that's when you talk about the chimp. It's that chimp in your brain when you're overthinking that's going,
like a Cena made in Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly, like that. And it's just, and I think for me it was very useful when you understand the different areas of your brain and how it works, and you can put one side and start thinking logically, and the other side. Okay, I won't. Okay, I'll shut up. You're giving me the eye.
Jack's all right. He can only think of one thing at a time, so he's very simple.
Maybe that's
the place to be.
I think too much.
I'm not sure if it's, but it's like the nervous thing though. I think nerves are good though. I think especially it means that you want it and you want to win. And I think if I wasn't nervous, I'd be nervous that I wasn't nervous. If that makes sense. I think my dad always said it's like if you're not nervous, you don't want it enough. So I think you kind of have to somehow bring them nerves into a positive somehow.
It's like turning them into a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I also think Pip's one of the biggest anomalies of a successful sportsman, because in the nicest way, when you hear you talking before a big event, you're sort of thinking, this could be an absolute disaster, and then you go there and you're fantastic. But I don't really know how you'd manage to do it, because I think if anybody else thought that way beforehand, it would be very difficult to turn it around in the time, would you not say?
I nearly killed you, didn't I?
Oh, you did, yeah.
You can tell that.
Accidentally.
Story. Well, no, because I do get nervous, and I don't, and I was doing, was I doing the Queens? Yes, I was doing the Queens at Hickstead, and Joe was staying over Hickstead, and I said, oh God, it's just going to be so big, and and talking myself out of it like I normally do. And Joe was interviewed at Hickstead, and they said, well, you tell the story.
Well, I was just finished walking the course, and they caught me as I was coming out, and they sort of took me over for an interview, and they said, who do you think is going to win? So I thought, I'll give Pip a bit of confidence, and I'll tell her that I think it's going to be her. So I said, Pip's looking really good. She's very confident. I'm sure she's going to win it. And it didn't go down as well as I was expecting. You didn't particularly enjoy it.
It was the way you said to them that she thinks she's going to win, and I'm like thinking I'm not going to even make it over the first 2 fences.
You did all right.
How did it go?
I can't remember.
You made it over the first 2 fences.
I think you had a late fence. I think you had one down late in the course.
It's funny how everyone has their own ways of kind of getting psyched up with these competitions. You know, we were chatting with William on the pod one day, and he's saying, sometimes the biggest doubter, but then that plays into your confidence when you get out there. Do you find that, in the lead up to a competition or a show, there's all these nerves, and then when you kind of get out there, does it all kind of click into place and you're in your flow state and it all makes sense, or are you still in your head there? Or
It's amazing how nervous you can be before going in the ring, and then you get in the ring and it just all goes away. Yeah. It's like I don't know what. Like, I couldn't even tell you what I'm thinking when I'm cantering around. Like it's. I don't know if it just turns into focus or I don't know what it turns into. But it's like you go in, you see your first stride to the first jump, and all your nerves have gone. It's like you barely even most of the time notice the crowd around you or the noises or whatever's going on. It's like you're in the zone.
I think for me, it's a bit the same, like you say. Going before you're warming up, or it's only walk the course, come out, you're about to get on. Probably before I get on is most nervous I'll be. That time when I'm just putting my hat on and getting organised. But I think when you start the course, you've almost visualised that plan. You know how it's going to feel. You know how every turn's going to feel, and then you just react a little bit if it's a touch different to what you expected. And then you don't, like you say, you don't think about what's happening.
Love your horse but not the high costs? Say hello to the Harry Hall One Club. You'll get public liability and personal accident insurance included in your membership from just £57.24 per year, making horse ownership more affordable.
And did you know they even offer horse box and travel insurance? How handy is that?
Friendly, fuss-free and full of shopping perks, join the club that's got your back in and out of the saddle.
Harry Hall One Club, making horse ownership more affordable.
what does the future look like for both of you? Do you sit down at the beginning of the year and you're forward planning for kind of big shows or competitions across the year? What would the ultimate year next year look like, and what would you say would be the peak of what you're trying to achieve here?
Well, I usually at the start of the year write down a full plan for all my shows, all the big shows I want to hit, where the championships are, and then about 3 weeks later I scrub it all out because it's all gone completely pear-shaped.
And that is horses.
Yeah.
That really is horses, and that's the highs and lows.
Yeah, I think I've redone my plan at least 7-8 times now already, for the rest of the year. But then, you've got horses that need a bit of time off. They say they jump very good here, they didn't jump well there, and then you have to completely change it. But I think in the long term, for me, I think for us, both of us, Olympic Games is the biggest thing. Championship medals, being on championship teams, Nations Cup teams. And then, there's a few, we want to win every Grand Prix we go in, but there's certainly a select few that are particularly special.
What would the special ones be for you?
Well, here's one of them to start.
The most expensive ones.
And you are...
Smart man.
Did we say that you were both ambassadors for Windsor? Royal Windsor?
I don't know. But
we are.
Yeah, we are.
We are.
Last 3 years running? Two or three.
And so then, what about Jack and Joe, the sort of influences. Joe, I know you've been modelling for Tatler, haven't you?
No, that was Jack.
No.
He's far better.
You can say it was Joe. I'd rather you say it was Joe than me.
Both very
Yeah,
handsome
he's far
chaps.
better looking.
I did actually know. I knew it was Jack, but I thought you could dump in it because you don't like talking about it, do you?
No, not at all.
You look good in those.
I've seen the
whatever they
photos. I think you look exceptional.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, no.
Pippa actually met a model agent last week at Badminton. We can connect you up with. I'm sure you know
yeah?
already.
Yeah, I did.
He wears those same.
They weren't looking at me. I took Tristan to. I'm a patron for World Horse Welfare, and took him to a lunch there. And I just so happened to be sat next to two lovely ladies who are big donators for World Horse Welfare, and one of them could not take her eyes off.
I'm glad you
Tristan.
weren't there, mate. Actually,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have got the gig.
And I thought she's even sadder than I am. She can't take her eyes off him. And anyway, it turns out that I was chatting a bit 5 minutes later, and I said, "What do you do?" And she said, "Well, I'm head of a big model agency." So that's why she was looking at him, and I was like, "Right, okay, I want to be middleman here." And I introduced.
So what Pip's
on the commish?
What Pip's saying is that if
I now
next
could
deals, we're going to have to chat to your
recruit
agent.
as well. So I could. Sorry, Joe.
I don't make the cut.
You don't.
Nonsense.
Fair enough.
Of course you do.
Well, it's funny. So we had Alan Titchmarsh as a previous guest. We asked for takeaways and kind of what the future looks and what advice we give. And one of the pieces of advice was, take the path less travelled and don't be afraid of kind of opening side doors and that sort of thing. And obviously you've got amazing career and you're steaming ahead in the equestrian world. Is there anything that you'd like to kind of do alongside that journey, or is it kind of all eyes on the horizon at the moment and charge for that?
I'm still trying to figure this one out, to be honest with you.
I haven't figured it out. I'm asking for advice.
I think hopefully if on the path less travelled, hopefully if we get to where we want to be, it's gonna hopefully lead into everything we want anyway. It's all kind of like Grand Prix and Nations Cups and Championships. It's so busy and there's so much to do that we want to do it all. So it's like hopefully that's the road to go.
Amazing.
Hopefully just happens down the way somewhere.
I mean, it is quite a life that, because I obviously being married to a show jumper, I mean, he hasn't travelled as much as your father and Tim, when you were growing up. I mean, it's week in, week out, isn't it? I mean, yes, you need the string of horses, but it is pretty...
Yeah, the worst thing is it's hard to complain to people when you're going to Monaco for one weekend and then you're in Saint-Tropez the next weekend and you're going to spend 4 weeks in Villamora and where you're playing probably golf every other day there as well. It's hard to complain about it.
That was the handicap. I can see that.
Oh, no good. Terrible.
We will just say, too, that Joe...
We missed the tea time for this today, actually, as well.
Joe's brother, Mark, is a real... I mean, he's a serious golfer, isn't he?
Yeah, he makes us two look completely ridiculous, actually.
Speak for yourself.
Competition on the horse and off as well. I like it.
Yeah, he's no good at horse riding, but he's very, very good at golf.
How's your golf game, Pip?
It's a bit like my polo. My polo.
How's your
game.
polo?
Well, like my golf. Yeah, my eyeball coordination isn't great. Ball-eye is that the word?
Well,
No, I don't think that's the right-
eyeball coordination.
Oh, hand-eye. What is
Hand-eye coordination.
What is it?
Your eyeball coordination. That's a new one. Hey, it's an equestrian term I'm not familiar with. One thing we always try to come back to on Talk Horse is kind of partnership with the horse and horse welfare. Obviously having that partnership with the horse is a huge part of what you do. How do you? This is probably one thing.
Yeah,
How do you develop that partnership with your horse, and how do you kind of maintain that relationship and try and do right by the horse?
Joe, do you pat Santorini and kiss him as much as I used to?
Pip's very.
No.
And Santorini is sport rotten. He is.
But
as
not by
as
you.
all my horses are. Yeah.
Good answer.
The partnership is the most important thing. Like we said before, knowing your horse and actually just spending time with them, whether it doesn't have to be just riding them, just in the stable, seeing what their personality's like, what their attitude's like. I've got a fairly new horse here with me this week, and actually just being around him, being up and down the stables and seeing how he is with other stuff, you realise what they take to, what they don't like. And I think you've got to have some sort of feel for them and some sort of sixth sense to understand what they're thinking at one time, which is sort of not something you could really teach somebody or explain, but you just kind of get a feeling of, I think they're thinking this, or I think he's got this opinion on what's going on out there, So I think understanding that also translates into your riding quite well. because you know if there's a big tractor coming down the side of the ring that they're not going to like it, or one might not be bothered, or, you know, Santorini's very horse shy, so he doesn't like the other horses in the ring. So I spend most of my time trying to navigate away from other people. Jack's usually trying to crash into me and apologising as he does it, and laughing as I'm spinning off in the other direction. But I think knowing them while you're on them and riding them, and knowing them in the stable is just as valuable.
Yeah, it's just time spent, I think, with your horses, in that boils back down to the welfare as well. Like, you think the more you know your horses, the better you can look after them and know what it takes to take care of them.
I think it's very interesting. I did say to you when we walked the course at Badminton, and it's very easy for us as athletes and riders. We come here to Windsor year after year. We go to London International Horse Show year after year, Badminton and things, and we get so used to it. But we have to remember that our horses, like I said at Badminton, we walk the cross country 4 times. They go out there and they see it once. The same thing with this sort of show. A lot of horses, particularly when they come to Windsor or London for the first time, we get so familiar with the King's Troop or Shetland Pony Grand National or carriages, but actually you have to take into account that a lot of these horses haven't seen it before. If they have, that might worry them, and that's where you have to be really at one to think, actually, I really need to hold the horse's hand here and say that carriage is okay, or those Shetland ponies aren't little doggies that are going to bite you. You know, they're, I think you always have to bear that in mind with the horses. And as riders, sometimes you can just take that for granted. But I think that's important. Like you say with Santorini, he's not been to a show. I don't think I brought him here as a young horse, so I don't think he's done Royal Windsor before. So, it's all new experiences for a lot of these horses.
I have to say, I struggle with one brain, so I take my hat off to you guys for dealing with 2.
Yeah,
and you've got chimps in the horses.
Yeah, and you've got chimps as well. Jeepers. I think, everyone here and our listeners on the pod as well would be, really excited to hear kind of, you guys have obviously got an amazing career ahead of you, and you've worked so hard to get here, and we'd like to have a little takeaway for our listeners. What piece of advice would you give to those who are, inspired about the equestrian world, wanting to kind of maybe forge a career or just connect with horses in this way?
I think you've got to be in 100%. That's the bit of advice I give you. You've got to be fully committed. It's not something you can dabble in and out of. You can't drop it, leave it, pick it up again. It just doesn't work like that. I think you've got to be fully invested or not in it. And to do that, you've got to be very passionate, and you've got to be able to do long hours and spend time doing things you don't want to do. And the horses aren't a set of golf clubs where you can, if you've had a bad day, you chuck them in the cupboard and you forget about them until tomorrow. It's not quite like that. It doesn't matter how bad your day is. The horses out there are looked after better than, I'd say, most people. They're looked after like you can't believe, and the grooms do a fantastic job. So you need to be really passionate about it. And you've also got to be fairly tough, because like we say, lots of ups and downs.
Yeah, I think it's just patience and persistence, I think, as well. It's hard work and long hours, and you take the ups with the downs. But thank God the ups are pretty good, so you can. It's worth the grind, hopefully. But it is worth the grind, not hopefully.
Amazing. Should we open the pod up to the audience here? It's really nice we have the opportunity to connect with you guys. And firstly, thank you so much for all supporting Talk Horse and being part of this amazing community. But we'd love to give you the opportunity to ask all 3 of these legends some questions. So if anyone's got any questions.
Actually, I've got one question. The old course walk at how do you remember all them the whole way around? And you walk it 4 times. How do you get around the course on foot?
We've got feet.
But horse eventually.
Do not take ages, not take a bike or something. Or?
Yeah, no, it takes 2 hours. I mean, no, it doesn't.
We did.
How would you walk it 4 times then? Surely it'd take all day.
It takes 2.5 hours, but you need.
She runs quite quickly, actually.
Absolutely, yeah, he can keep up with
I couldn't keep up with her.
Yeah, I mean, you really do have to know all your.
Is it one day you walk it 4 times, or would you walk it?
No. We can walk it on. So we first walk it on the Wednesday, which is the trot up day for the horses, for the vet's inspection. We walk it that day before the vet's inspection. We'll walk it on Thursday, Friday, and then first thing Saturday morning. And it's a long walk, but you absolutely have to know your lines. But there are a few people that might go around on bikes, but I personally don't, because I like to know every blade of grass that they're going. But actually at most of the top events now, they don't allow the sort of bikes on the ground, because they do so much work to the ground, especially in a dry year like this, I mean, the going was really good at Badminton from all the work they'd done. So they do keep people off the course. Riders, competitors, you were lucky enough because I got an armband for you to walk on that.
Had an athlete's armband.
He did. But it's a long walk, and the only thing I will say is really annoying if you actually aren't having a good time and you pull up early and you think, oh my God, I walked that way round 4 times and I've only got to fence 5. But normally, I mean, it's well worth it. And I must admit, William, that's probably why he opted for show jumping. He's gone now. He was here listening to you, Joe. He's on the phone. That makes a change. But yeah, so we do 4 times.
Jesus.
He does help.
There's a lot of that up around the course, I imagine. Has anybody else got any questions for us? Absolutely. I think we've got a microphone. There we go.
What's the one horse you'd like to have the ride on?
One that's still going now.
No, either.
Milton would have been a good... I'd like to have rode Milton, I think. He'd have been a cool one to ride.
Can you remember Milton? Are you that?
Yeah, bits, but I've watched a lot of videos as well. I can't really... Actually, no, I don't remember him at all, but I've watched a lot of videos.
It looks good on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'd probably ride, actually, just related to me, I'd ride Qualata that my dad took to the Olympics, just to compare, basically, as to the horses I've got now. It'd be interesting to see.
Pip?
Oh, me. Sorry, I was... funnily enough, I was I would actually like to ride Lordship's Graffalo eventing-wise because he's just unbelievable. I mean, they're an amazing partnership, but from an eventing point of view, it would be him, yeah.
I haven't got an answer for that one.
Santorini.
I'm not going to,
You've
not going to step on your toes.
You've only met 2 horses.
I've met some, yeah. There are 2 I've met.
Santorini and you met...
Lordship's Graffalo, yeah.
It's good too.
Set quite high.
Yeah, Santorini, yeah. Both up there.
Similar.
Not today, but
Few years.
Usually.
I like it. We've answered them all.
You don't want to ask anything else while Tristan's here? Do you watch Made in Chelsea?
Pippa called it Treasure Island for the first 20 podcasts.
Treasure Island?
Yeah, apparently so.
Why?
It's a hybrid of Love Island and I'm not sure what else was going on.
Well, he said it was...
I'm not sure it's a staple in the Funnell household, thankfully. Pleasure Island's a different... That's a spin-off. Pleasure Island's the after Watershed version.
I don't watch a lot of reality.
I'll tell you what, I think this is a judgment for my talk horse.
I would say.
I think so. Amazing.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. And good luck tomorrow. Grand Prix tomorrow.
No, thank
Big
you.
day tomorrow.
Pleasure.
Joe, put it all behind you. Get rid of those monkeys.
Yeah.
Have a chat with the monkey tonight. And then.
Sacking off the monkeys.
The monkeys are no good for you.
Yeah, they're not working. No.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. It's been an absolute pleasure having this live format podcast. And thank you all so much for supporting Talk Horse. It's been a fantastic journey. We're episode 20.
Oh, has anybody got the FA Cup score, actually?
We're doing the thank yous.
Sorry.
Is that football? Yeah.
And listeners out there that you know, it's been great to have the size of... we've had crowds like Glastonbury here. So listeners...
100,000 deep.
Yeah.
I literally can't see anything.
Shit. You see, look. So anyone listening, we've got a great crowd here, and come back next year if we're allowed back.
If they'll have us back. We've got a very exciting next series. We've got some fantastic guests. So keep supporting, keep sending your questions in, keep getting involved in the community. It's amazing to connect with all of you, and thanks for educating me, Pippa, for the last 6 months. It's been an eye-opening experience.
And thanks, guys.
Thanks, lads.
Oh, no, thank you.
Cheers, thank
Bye.
you.